This podcast is made possible in part by Winona, where menopause care is made easy. Winona offers personalized, bioidentical hormone replacement therapy to ease your menopause journey. Discover compassionate care and personalized treatments delivered to your doorstep at bywinona.com. Check your eligibility and start feeling like your best self again, starting today.
Hola, welcome to Word to Your Mama, the podcast that amplifies diverse voices and celebrates shared experiences. Hosted by me, Ritzy P., a Latina creative entrepreneur with a background in art, music, and new web technologies. From Academy and Emmy winners to activists, artists, and builders, we celebrate the rich diversity of my multicultural tribe. There will be special guests, mad laughs, and absolutely no BS. Word to Your Mama drops every Monday on your favorite podcast platform. How powerful would it be if there was a reconnecting, a reclaiming, a reimagining of Guadalupe? As Latina, Latine, Latinx, Chicana women, how powerful could that be for us, right? So this week's guest, famed Mexican-American photographer Amanda Lopez, did just that. As the time of this recording, she was just coming off of the heels of her show in Los Angeles entitled Guadalupe, Reclaiming Connection to the Divine. So with that exhibit, she was pushing back on the ideas of patriarchy via her work. You know, she was thinking about if Guadalupe were to, show up now in LA, what would she look like? What kind of space would she take up? I mean, I love this idea. Super bummed that I missed the show. But yes, Amanda Lopez is the person that I have the conversation with. And you know how sometimes you meet someone, even if it's virtually, you're just like, have we met in a past life? Like, why do I feel like I know you? Well, that's what happened. So she has commercial success taking photos and portraits of such icons as Quinta Brunson, Nipsey Hussle, Yalitza Aparicio, and so many more. And so we talk about how it was growing up in Sacramento, being first and second gen. She talks about why she says that in her origin story, to live in LA for a significant amount of time and then recently moving to Denver. She talks about finding her passion of photography at such a young age. I think she was 16 years old. Then we talk about navigating a professional, creative life with no blueprint. And I think that story resonates with so many of our listeners, viewers, because especially as, first gen folks, who was that? Who was that for us? I mean, and if we're of a certain age, maybe we had internet, maybe we didn't, so we didn't even have access to see anyone that looked like us that was doing the things that we wanted to do. So she talks about that. And how having support from family and the universe, signs, symbols, and clues that, she was on the right path, that let her know that she was on the right path, and so much more. But yeah, let's get into it. Right here, hold on.
You have such a good broadcasting voice.
Oh, thank you.
You do. I love your voice. I was listening to some of the past interviews. I'm like, God, your voice is so good. Like, you're meant to do this,
Thank you, because I hated my voice forever, but everyone's been telling me this, and so I was like, okay.
No, you
Here
do.
I am.
You have a good broadcasting voice. It's awesome.
Oh, gracias. I really appreciate it. Well, let's start it off. Amanda, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. I just recorded a video that I'm going to be posting later where I'm anticipating this conversation. Because I'm such a huge fan. Let me just get that out there right now. I'm such a huge fan of your work, especially seeing someone that looks like us out there doing the big moves that you're doing and representing us and just capturing us and not trying to whitewash it, being hella authentic, showing I could see the love and respect, right? And I love that. But let's start the way I start all the time. How are you doing? ¿Cómo estás?
Well, first, thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be chatting with you, and thank you for that beautiful intro. And I'm so happy that you could feel like the love and respect in the work, because that's always the intention, always. I'm doing pretty good. I feel like I am entering into like a new era of my life where I'm seeking some more peace and balance and stability. I've been going 150% like most of my adult life, like from 15 or 16 years old when I started working till now. And girl, I can't do it anymore. I'm really looking
Tell me,
for some more balance in my life, because it's been a little bit unbalanced. But overall, I'm doing pretty good. That was a long answer to
no.
that, but that's
That's
how I'm
the
feeling
real
right now.
answer. I love that. That's
Yeah.
the real answer. And I feel like I'm significantly older than you, but I feel like we're adults, right? And I think this is very important, this conversation, because not only we are adults, we're women, next level. You add
Hmm.
levels to that.
Hmm. Yes,
Women
yes,
of color,
yes.
you add levels to
Hmm.
that shit. Successful
Yeah.
women, entrepreneurs, that's next level shit. And
Yeah.
then you're just like, how I'm in the same era. I've been doing all this like inner work and trying to get that balance,
Mm.
because it's
Hmm.
tough being an entrepreneur. But I believe it's all these next levels when you're a creative and you're a woman, you're, of color. I've been calling it, I'm trying to enter my soft era. I'm
Yes,
trying to
me
be
too.
like, it's,
I'm gonna be
I
in
was
that
like, oh
club.
shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's balance
Hmm.
and trying to be
Hmm.
more in community and really seeing what's important. And right now I'm on this zone in this mode, and I really feel like we're on the same frequency.
Hmm.
I don't want folks, and let me know if this resonates with you. I don't want folks to have to experience tragedy and loss to do the things that we're doing. We've been doing the things that we love to
Hmm.
do out on our
Hmm.
own. It's hard as fuck. It is
Yeah.
hard as fuck. You know it.
Yes, especially,
We
yeah,
know it.
yeah. Yep, yeah. With no blueprint. That's what's the hard part, right? Like there's no blueprint. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's embrace let's embrace this off there. Okay, so let's go back and let's let the folks know, where were you born and raised, and where are your people from?
Yes, I'm originally from Sacramento, California. I'm a Cali girl, Northern Cali girl. I'm Mexican. I like to say I'm first and second generation, because my dad is from Guadalajara, and my mom was born in Sacramento on an Air Force base, but both my grandparents, her parents, are from Mexico. So I feel like I have this unique experience, having a dad, um, you know, from Mexico, only spoke Spanish in the house, and then, going to school, learning to speak English, and then, you know, slowly speaking less and less Spanish in the house, because my parents wanted us to learn English. Um, yeah, so my people are from SAC. My people are Mexican American, and for most of my life, I've lived in California.
Got it. But right now you're like back in, is it right? Is it up to date that you're
Yes.
back and forth through Denver?
Yeah, so just recently, just a couple months ago, I was in LA for about a decade, and then before that, I was in San Francisco, and then before that, I was in Sacramento. So now I'm in Denver. I and in addition to wanting to be in my soft era, I'm also in my life is short. I want to have as many experiences as possible, and it felt like I love LA. I feel like that's where my career kind of really, I was able to finally turn into like a freelancer and like go after a lot of my goals and dreams. And after being there for a decade, I felt like, you know what, maybe it's time for a change. I was speaking to someone the other day, a good friend of mine that I met in San Francisco, and he's French. He moved back to Paris. And he was saying, I told him, I'm in Denver now. And he said, oh, that's so great. He's like, creatives. He's like a photographer, very creative person. I love him. And he's like, creatives they need to be in new landscapes to be inspired. Like he was just had this really romantic take on the move. And I was like, ooh, yes, I love that. Like, it just felt like it was time to like reset, try
Right.
something new. And like I said, like I just was looking for a new experience, but I'm still an LA girl. You'll catch me there. Like, every month or two I'm still there. I'm back and forth a lot with work. And so But I feel like Denver is the place where I come back to like reset, and I can see the mountains from my house, which is like next level for me. And so it's nice to like be here and like just breathe a little bit, you know?
Yeah. And I feel like that helps to facilitate that balance you're trying to get, right? Like to be in
Yeah.
nature and kind of get away from it. Let me ask you this, because I no longer live in LA either, and I'm in the desert. I'm Coachella Valley, so I love it, and I feel like I needed it, and it's how I got to this point where I'm at now. Like the quietness, like LA always has that kind of like New York, like this buzz, and now it's like dead time all the time out here. But do you miss how was the food in Denver? Because I didn't understand how great we had it in LA. Like Korean, boom, got it. Thai, boom. Like anything I wanted, boom. And so how is it? How's your food situation in Denver? Can you get good Mexican?
I love that question.
Can you get all that
Girl.
stuff?
Yes, there's a lot of good. So moving here, actually, I was excited for the change, and it had been calling for a long time. Like I would say like a year and a half, 2 years. I was craving the change. I was like, something is coming. It's time for a change. And I wake up sometimes. I'm like, man, I can't believe I live in Denver now. It's kind of wild because it was never on my radar, but life works in mysterious ways. Right. And some of my apprehension was like, I don't know. Like the stereotype is that, Colorado and Denver specific is like a very white town. It's very, in my mind, I was like, oh, everybody's skiing and snowboarding. I've never done that before. And I was worried about like the food and the culture and like the art scene. I was like, man, what am I getting myself into? But I'm happy to report there's a bomb ass food here in Denver. Michelin just came out here. I think that last year was the first time that like they awarded stars out here. I don't know how that whole system works, but there's a lot of really good restaurants out here, but for some reason they weren't getting the recognition they deserve. But now they are. So all that to say is we definitely know the spots out here now, and we have some good friends that are foodies that are Denver natives that put us on, and so there's a lot of really good food out here, girl. So if you come out here, I know where to take you now.
No, that's great. I don't think I'm gonna make it this year, but I have a lot of friends that are gonna go to ETH Denver. That happens.
Oh yes, coming up in March.
Yeah. So that's gonna be. So I'll maybe I'll get some recs from you to toss them down the road to the homies, because they definitely want that, and they're Latino too. So
girl, I'll tell you where to go.
Yes, please. I'm gonna need that list. We're gonna need that list.
Yes.
So one more thing, because it's Denver specific. Acclimating to the altitude, was that a thing for you?
A little bit. And it only lasts like a week. Yeah, just a little bit. Everybody's different. Like my sister came to visit us last year, and I was so concerned because she brought her baby. I was like, are you guys okay? Like we brought oxygen for them. Like, nice. There's like, you can take chlorophyll to like help your body acclimate. We got her all these things, and she was totally fine. So everybody's body's different and handles it differently. For me, the first week or so, I was a little bit, we went on a hike, or we tried to go on a hike like the second day that we got here. I couldn't do it. And I couldn't believe it because I used to like the hike in LA, but now I'm acclimated. Now it's fine. Thank goodness.
But with you traveling back and forth to LA a lot, like, once a month or, pretty frequently, does your body remember?
Yeah, it does. It does. Yeah, no, it does for sure.
Good.
And usually when I come back, I'm like just so tired from like because I tend to have short trips to LA, but they're packed. So when I get back, I just sleep, and that kind of also helps acclimate. But I don't really feel it anymore. My body remembers.
That's good. Oh, that's good that I remember, because that would suck to have to constantly reacclimate. Because I had a friend last year, I think it was last year, she went to a conference there, and she said that like she forgot all about that. Like you don't think about that. You just travel to places,
totally.
like whatever. And she was like, I couldn't do anything that first day. Like it was like a wipeout. Like I could barely do anything. It took her she said about a day, and I was like, oh shit, that's something you have to think about when you travel to Denver. But I'm super happy, Amanda, to hear that you found some peace, a peaceful place that there's bomb ass food. You got the connects, Michelin
Yes.
recognized spots. Like, I love that. You need the
Yes.
food. You need the food as part of the experience.
Yes. There's a bomb pozole place here.
What?
They just got like a Michelin bonnet. So not a star, but like recognized, but it's
Wow.
bomb. It's a pozoleria, and they have like red pozole, white pozole, black pozole. I've never had black pozole
I've never
before.
had
And
black.
yes,
How is
girl,
that? Oh my
it's
God.
dope.
You're
It's
making my
dope.
mouth water.
But it feels like home, because that's like, my mom and my grandma like used to make pozole, and like when I have a bowl of pozole, it's just so comforting, so it's
Right.
nice to have that here. Yeah.
Sign, symbols, and clues that you're in the right place. It seems like it. Like, feels
Oh my
good. Your
gosh.
people, there's hiking,
Yeah.
there's food. Like, so how long have you been there now? Around?
I mean, officially, we just got a place out here in October. So officially just a couple months, because for like a year, we were back and forth, a little wishy-washy. The plan was just to come here and like almost have like a sabbatical. We're like, okay, we're going to go to Denver for like 3 months, and we'll be back in LA. And then we just kept adding, okay, another 3 months, another 3 months. Oh, let's see what the winter's like. And then, and then we're like, okay, what are we really trying to do? And it included, having some stability. And so it felt like a good thing to do, at least for now,
Yeah. It sounds great. Well, I'm really happy for you. Felicidades. I mean, to get a place
Thank
and,
you.
have that. And sounds like you did your due diligence. You did the recon. Like, what can we do the winters here? Like, I think that's what,
Yes,
I think that's
exactly.
great. Like, you're a Cali girl.
Girl,
That's
I
different.
was scared. I was scared. I was asking everybody, because we came out here in like the summer, and at that point we didn't think we were going to stay the winter. But once it became clear we were going to stay, I was asking all of our friends, because my partner, his best friends live here, and so I was asking them.
Perfect.
I was like, "How do you what kind of boots do I need? What do you recommend? And honestly, like, I am shocked, but actually I really like winter here, and I'm acclimated, and I got my boots, and I'm good to go.
That's amazing. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm so happy to hear. So going back to your story as a photographer, you mentioned you've been working since you were really young. What was the moment in time that you can remember, the earliest moment when it clicked? It was your root, and you're like, photographer.
Yeah, my earliest moment, I always say I'm lucky, because I went to a art high school. And so like at my high school, you could take your elective, could be like radio, like you could literally have your own radio station at my high school. You could
Right.
take ceramics, you could learn how to build cars, like, and one of those things was photography. And I always liked art. I wanted to be a painter when I was a little girl, 3rd grade. I was like, oh, I'm going to be Da Vinci. I'm going to be, Van Gogh. Like, I really thought I was going to be a painter. And then in high school, 15, 16 years old, I took the photo class, and it was the first time I remember feeling really happy. Like, of course, happy in different moments in my adolescence, but like a joy that I hadn't known before, like being in the dark room. I was like, oh my gosh. And then I realized that you could study it, and I was like, oh shoot, this is it. Like, I want to have this feeling forever, And so young, at 16 years old, knew that I wanted to kind of pursue this. The question was, though, for me, like, how? Because like we kind of talked about it earlier, like there is no blueprint.
Right.
No one could tell me how. My family was supportive, but they didn't know how I was going to make money. I didn't know how I was going to make money.
Right.
I just knew that I liked to do it. And then I went to school in San Francisco, went to San Francisco State, and took photo classes there, and majored in photography, and just like learning as you go, little by little, just taking the next step, like trusting that the next thing I do is going to lead me to the place I want to go, and so just little by little, keeping at it. And throughout the years, I've been lucky, like these different doors have opened, and just things that I never even dared to dream, never even thought I could do, again, because I didn't see it. I didn't know anyone who was doing what I wanted to do. But now, now because the internet's so awesome, like you see so many folks. out here chasing their dreams. And like, I love that, you know?
Mm-hmm. So I'm happy, you're here, but it was interesting that you started at such a young age. You pursued it and continued in college. And that's kind of like this crazy time when it shifts and changes because you're on your own a little bit, like on your own a little bit.
Yeah. Yes.
And you always loved it and you love the process because I feel like, oh, I want to be a photographer. I just want to take pictures. But I don't think people understand, especially, I mean, now it might be different because they could start off on digital, right? But you're starting out, we're talking about film, kids. We're talking about developing your own stuff. We're talking about.
That was my first camera. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like all that stuff.
Yeah.
When you graduated college, did you have a job? Like what was your first, like a photography job, or were you like freelance from jump? Like what was that transition like?
Well, I think it took me a long time to go freelance. So not until I moved to LA. I lived in San Francisco for 10 years and I always had a job. The good thing was it was always like a creative kind of artsy job. So like I worked in galleries before. I worked in a photo studio, a couple different photo studios. I always had to work because I wasn't, and also because at that time I'm building my portfolio, I'm building my name, like I'm building my website, gaining experiences, and so it took me a while to get have everything aligned, but moving to LA really was kind of like the catalyst. Like as soon as I moved to LA, I started working a lot with the LA Weekly. And LA is just like, it's just a city of opportunity, like there's opportunity and things can happen a little bit quicker there. But yeah, it took me a while. So don't be discouraged, anyone who's listening to this. It took me a while. It took me 10 years to go freelance. And the whole time I'm like, man, how am I going to do it? I don't know, but just keep going, keep going, keep going. And LA really kind of helped make that happen, but it takes time. It takes time, or it can't, at least in my situation. There's some folks that like graduate school and like right away start, working in or freelance. But I just took a different route. It took me a little while longer.
Right. And it was like you said, there was no blueprint, but it was also a different time. And then so when digital cameras came out hardcore a little bit more, were you a purist? Were you like anti, or how was that transition for you? And what do you use now? Both? One? Other?
Yeah, I mainly use digital now. So I started there's no digital cameras when I was in college. I think maybe my senior year is when like digital cameras like came out, and some kids in my class had them, but most of us didn't. We were, shooting film and processing our own film. I don't think that I was ever a purist. I stuck with film for a little while just for budgetary reasons. Like I didn't have an extra, couple $1,000s at the time to buy a digital camera. So I just, stayed with my film camera. And then my uncle, RIP, my Uncle Rao, he knew that I wanted a camera, a digital camera. And he just kind of casually asked me like, well, how much do they cost? I was like, oh, they're really expensive. He said, well, how much do they cost? And so I told him, like, oh, okay. And then he wrote me a check for the camera. And I was like, what are you doing? Like, and he was like, no, I believe in you. Like, this is for you. I want you to get the camera so that you can continue to make the work, And I haven't thought about that in a while. That makes me kind of emotional because it was so sweet, like that he did that. And, I've been lucky, girl. I feel like I've been so lucky to have so many people in my corner and like supporting me. And like that moment, gosh, it just touched me because, he's no longer with us. But like, yeah, I know. But that gift was like, it was so special and like a sign, really from the universe.
Right.
Like you're on the path to going the right way. And after he gave me that camera, it then I was able to shoot a lot more. Right. Because, but also too, shooting film as a broke college student, I was kind of limited. I'm like, I got one roll of film. I got to make something happen with this because I don't have an extra $50. It's either this or lunch tomorrow, whatever the case may be at the time. And so having a digital camera really expanded the creativity. I was able to like shoot more and do more and not worry about like okay, how am I going to process this film and get those negative scans and get those prints made and, you know, all those things. But I still do both. I mainly shoot digital, but, you know, when the project calls for it, I'll bust out my Pentax or my Canon, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Shout out to your Theo, man. Like, I was almost tearing up because he saw you. Like, he saw you.
Yeah.
And believed in you. Beautiful thing. Beautiful thing. So,
I know.
In college, you know, because I went for art and design, and I fell in love taking pictures. And I had a Pentax, and I was like, oh, this is amazing. I can develop my own film. This is crazy. So then later when I went into the music industry, I was like, I'm about to be a photographer. I love taking pictures. I was like, nope. I was like, I just want to shoot them. But when I had to do like, you know, the f-stops and the this and the that, and it was like, oh, if I don't love the process, this isn't for me, right? This isn't for me. So that's why I love that you learned early and that it never wavered. And that you came out at a time when digital cameras kind of at the tail end, and you saw, like, you still loved it. You know what I mean? So for you, it was like, oh, this just makes the process easier. This is just, you know, I can do more with it. Like you saw it as a tool and not like, because at the time people were like, there's people now that we know that I remember because I was in a photography show with them and I was asking them questions and they were like, nah, I'm never going to use a digital. What are you using now, bruh? What are you using
exactly.
now? Like, you know what I mean?
Yes. I actually know a lot of people that were like that too. And I think it's just like, you know, like technology, people are nervous about what they don't know. Right. I know that you're also in the NFT space, and I feel like the same thing with NFTs, like in Web3, people get nervous about like that. And I look at it the same way. I'm like, it's just like digital, like a digital camera, like the evolution of what is next and what is possible. And everybody, I think, who, you know, maybe is talking shit a little bit about Web3, maybe in, you know, 5-10 years, be like, oh, that, I don't know. I feel like it's the future and it's still evolving, but I see the kind of similarities in it, you know?
Oh, totally. Yeah. And it's great. Like, I love that you know, I've always been a fan, but then when I entered that space and I saw you or a part of that space, I was like, yes, like I need to connect with her. Like how can I do this? So this is fantastic. Yes. So moving forward, like when at the time of this recording, we're coming off of the heels of, you know, the closing of your show, Guadalupe, Reclaiming Connections to the Divine. Super bummed that I wasn't able to make it to LA to see it, but you know, what I saw from your socials and everyone else's looked amazing. Could you tell us and talk to us a little bit more about that body of work and the connection to the title? Because I love it.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. That body of work I've been working on for a long time. You know, like I said, I'm Mexican. I grew up in a very Mexican household, and so we were very Catholic growing up. And
something I hear from so many women in their 40s and 50s is, oh my gosh, is it hot in here? Or is it just me? But seriously, hot flashes, fatigue, and other uncomfortable symptoms associated with menopause can make you feel like you're not yourself anymore. If you're thinking, yes, that's me, I'm excited to introduce you to Winona. They're making menopause care easier with bioidentical treatments delivered to your door. The best part? Their HRT is made with plant-based bioidentical hormones, not synthetic ones. This means they're identical in molecular structure to those your body already produces, so you can feel your best naturally. And with 80% of Winona patients experiencing relief in just 90 days, it's no wonder they have a 5-star rating on Trustpilot. So if you're tired of struggling with menopause symptoms, visit bywinona.com and check your eligibility today. Once again, that's bywinona.com.
This is your friendly reminder to take a deep breath. Este es tu recordatorio para que respires profundo. Take a deep breath in. Inhala profundo. Exhale as you observe your breath, letting all the air out. Exhala, observando tu exhalación, dejando salir todo el aire. Would you like to help me reach my mission of teaching meditation to 1 million children? ¿Te gustaría ayudarme a alcanzar mi misión de enseñar meditación a 1 millón de niños, I invite you to join me in the Decide Balance Oasis, a safe space where families can find bilingual meditations and mindfulness practices and so much more. Te invito a que te unas conmigo en el Decide Balance Oasis, un espacio seguro donde las familias pueden encontrar meditaciones bilingües y prácticas de atención plena y mucho más. Go to decidebalance.com for more details. I'll see you in the Oasis. Visita decidebalance.com para obtener más información. Nos vemos en el Oasis.
Gracias for listening to Words Your Mama. I have a unique cross-section of guests on here because I'm a consultant who thrives at the intersection of creative innovation, tech, and community impact. There are a variety of ways we could work together, so check out britsyperrywinkle.com to learn more. Link in the bio.
Our Lady of Guadalupe is a Catholic saint that I just always saw and was always around, and ultimately like always inspired by, even if at moments it was like subconscious, you know. And I was a part of an art show in Los Angeles, maybe like, I can't remember now exactly, I should probably look at the date, but we'll say like 5-6 years ago. And the show was called The Politics of Womanhood. And so I was asked to make a piece for the show. And I just kind of sat with the idea. And what I realized was that Our Lady of Guadalupe has been such a influence in how I think about like what it means to be a woman. And when I sat with it, some of those ideas didn't resonate with me anymore. I'm like, I don't know, like just growing up in like a conservative household where even though our family, it was very matriarchal and that my grandma was ahead of it, we were also, you know, patriarchal thought was very much how the family was run, you know?
Right.
And so Guadalupe to me is kind of is like pushing back against those ideas. And, you know, I know you had Chaco on your podcast, and he said something that I love that he said, like, cause he grew up in a religious family, and I think he said like someone else had introduced him to the idea of like Jesus was his entryway into spirituality. And I love that because that's how I feel about Guadalupe. I was like, she was my gateway to connecting to myself and reclaiming. That's why the, you know, title Reclaiming Connection to the Divine is part of the title. Shout out to the curator and Alani who helped make that kind of connect those dots and came up with that for us. But really the show is about kind of pushing back on some patriarchal bullshit, you know, that just doesn't work for me anymore and never did. But I feel like as I'm entering my soft era, that I'm just not, I don't want to deal with that anymore. You know, I'm over that. and reclaiming her and what she means to me. And what she means to me is she's like an embodiment of Mother Nature. She's a badass. Like, but when you look at Guadalupe, like just like the image, she's like looking down and she's completely covered. And I started thinking about like how that, for me, I was reading it. I was like, oh, you have to be quiet and covered and humble and, you know, like all those things to be a good woman. And I was like, no, fuck that. And so Guadalupe is like, is turning that on its head. And if you know, people can check out my website to see some of those images. And I in some of the photos, I like reclaimed her and reimagined her. I was like, okay, what would Guadalupe look like if she came to LA? Because I made a lot of the work in LA right now. And she would be a badass and she would be wearing Nikes and she would be showing some skin and she'd have all her gold jewelry on and unapologetic about it. And so the project is all of that. And ultimately like just like a really healing thing that I needed to like get out of my system, I think, to enter now my soft girl era, you know? So
welcome to the soft girl era. Yeah, no, it looked amazing. I also loved, you know, the reels after the fact that you put together. It seemed like all the things that you mentioned, but also this show seemed to be I don't know, like it's from afar looking out, looking in, it looked like it was closing and opening of something for you, because you had like the cleansing and it looked like, you know, I'm gonna shut this down I'm reclaiming this shit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm entering this new era. Let's go.
I love that you picked up on that, because that's kind of how it felt like to me too. Like, shout out to Altura Gallery. They hosted the exhibition. That whole team is amazing. They've created such a beautiful space. It's a team of like creatives and artists and musicians and just people who've created this space for the community. And I'm grateful that Guadalupe was able to be sharing at that show. I'm grateful again to Nalani who curated it. And yeah, that's really what it felt like to me. I'm so pleased that you picked up on that, because it felt like an end of an era. And I don't even think I could articulate that at the moment, but at that time I should say, but it felt like, a closing of something and a rebirth of something. And I'm, figuring out still what all of that looks like. But, it was really special. We actually, the woman who did the cleansing, her name is Claudia Mello. She's Nalani's mom. Nalani's a photographer and curator, but she's also a healer. And her mom have Botanica Mello. And they do a lot of beautiful community events like healing circles and, sound baths and just like a lot of like healing events for the community. And I've actually done a lot of generational and trauma work with Claudia, her mom. And so it felt really fitting to have her there and to do a blessing. So she blessed the space and then like cleansed anyone who was open to it. And it was a really beautiful night. And it was exactly what you said, like an end of something, a beginning of something, and a reincarnation of something still to be determined.
Right. And that's exciting part, right? It's like, who's to say? Like you're just moving forward, a ver qué pasa, and you're open to it. And I feel like it sounds like we're so similar that I feel like at this point, whatever's coming wouldn't have been able to come in because you hadn't been to this point, if that makes sense. Like you're open to whatever this is iteration of you is going to happen because you've done this work. You've released shit, you reclaim shit. You know what I mean? Like it's a powerful thing. And I don't know you, but I feel like I know you. I don't know, maybe because looking at your work, you know what I'm saying? Also, we know like we're like 1 degree away from people.
Yeah.
And we probably know so many of the same people. So anyways.
I know. Well, actually, on that vein, I wanted to tell you, I realized that your son's father, I've photographed him before as part of like as part of Dilated Peoples, right?
Right.
That was the group he was in. Yes.
Yeah.
He was one of the first assignments that I used to work a lot with this magazine called Vapors Magazine, Girl, like a long time ago. And one of the first assignments I did was to photograph Dilated Peoples in San Francisco. You know what? They were opening up, I think, for Kanye West.
Shut up. That was a long time ago.
It was a long time ago. Yeah. I was in college still.
What? That's amazing. Oh, you have to send me the photo.
Yes,
find the photo. And because I was asking him, I was like, yo, I go, you know her work. Like, you know her work. But I don't think he remembers the name. Like, remembers the name? But if I show him the photo, I'm going to tell him.
This was a long time ago.
That's crazy.
He probably knows my partner, Trevor. My partner, Trevor Trainer, is also a photographer. And he's photographed your husband before. And he probably would recognize his name more because I probably photographed him 20 years ago,
right?
Like for 15 minutes, and then that was it.
Right.
So
small world. Look at that.
It is a small world. I know it is a really small world. The creative community is small, girl. It's small.
Right.
I think, like you said, everyone is one person away. Like it's big, and that there's a lot of creatives, but I think like everybody knows everybody somehow,
somehow, some way. Like, for sure. It's crazy. And it's funny because that book that I was in with like B+ and Esteban and stuff, that photography book, when I swore I was going to be a photographer, it was so long ago and it was so many people in there. I just texted him. I texted Man One yesterday. I was like, was Amanda Lopez in that book? Like, I feel like she would have been in that book. It was called LA. It was like sponsored by Dickie. It was like this long book. I forget what it was called, something LA something. It was just all LA photographers. I was like, I can't believe I'm in this book. And then I bounced and I was like,
Ooh,
I don't want
that's
to be a
amazing.
photographer anymore. Yeah, and it was just like a thing in time. And I remember it was when Crew West was still in Alhambra. It wasn't even downtown yet. Like that's how long ago it was. And I remember we're signing them. They're like, you have to sign them. And I was like, what? What is happening?
How
Like,
exciting.
yeah. And I was just like, I think that also helped me to see like, no, I'm not a photographer. I dabble. I like to take pictures. This is the real work. Like if you're in it, you have to be in it. Just like you said, like all of the work in the entire process. And I feel like a lot of people don't think about that, and you have to find out by doing. You just have to find out by doing.
Yeah,
You just
totally.
jump.
That's the only way. Yeah.
Right.
Even when I was starting out, like there's so many different types of photography,
Right.
And there's landscape photographers and journalists, photojournalists and war photographers and wedding photographers, like all these different kinds of photographers. I had to do a couple of things before I figured out, oh no, people, editorial, portraiture, that's my vein. Like this is what I like, yeah.
Well, I'm happy that you found it because we need your work. We love your work. And I love that to see, your commercial stuff as well. I think, I don't know if you have, like, you have first right of refusal. I just seen like your latest kind of commercial work. It looks like you're also working with maybe friends or maybe they became friends, but the representation in that vein on the commercial side, like, I love that too. Like, it seems like it's all happening for you.
Thank you. Yeah, it's I feel like my personal work and my commercial work are the same, and in that I think people who are hiring me to do commercial work are hiring me because they've seen my personal work and they like it and they want to bring that to like what they're doing,
Yeah.
But yeah, it's all the same to me. I feel like I put everything I have into, whether it's my own shit or if it's like someone's hiring me to do it, like the same intention is always there, like we touched on. Like I want people to feel good, like when they're on set. I want them to feel respected. I want them to see themselves in a new light. And like for me, it's always love. Like I always want the best possible outcome,
Right.
no matter the caliber of the shoot. No matter if I'm taking a picture of my cousin or my niece, or if I'm taking a picture of a celebrity, like it's all the same to me,
That's great. And I love that. So let's get into the questions and comments from the audience. First one. How does she connect to her subjects if she has just met them? And what's her favorite lighting situation? This is by the living legend, photographer, archivist, and previous Word to Your Mama guest, Brian Cross, aka B+.
Oh, B+. I love that interview you did with him, by the way.
Thank you.
Love B+. He's such a inspiration to me, like coming up, in photography. I shot a lot of musicians, and like to see his work and Coleman's work and all of the work that was being made like back in the day was like such a inspiration. So that's awesome that he asked that question. Thank you so much. I feel honored that he even chimed in for that. So the question was, how do I connect with somebody, and my favorite lighting setup? Right? Yeah. I think when I'm photographing somebody, I try and do research a little bit. I try and see like, like what they've done or what they're up to, or like, even just looking at their Instagram, like just to get a sense of folks, and try and also let them know like right away, like the intention is to make you comfortable. Like we were saying, like, because I think sometimes people can be a little nervous to get their picture. One, if they've never had their photo professionally taken, and two, like, they don't, maybe they think the photographer is not going to pick the best photo of them or whatever. There's a lot of stressful, I think, layers. That people kind of take into consideration, maybe if they've never had their picture taken. And so like, again, just like making people feel comfortable, and then learning a little bit about them. If I pick up that they like a certain song, maybe I'll play it on set, or maybe I'll bring some snacks to lighten the mood, or maybe, my partner assists me. We work together a lot, and he's really good too at breaking the ice. And so again, just bringing a sense of like, we got you, we want this to be the best possible thing, and nobody's out here trying to make anybody look silly. So don't worry, that's my main thing.
It's a safe space. We got you.
Yes, exactly. And then lighting is just always depends on the situation, like I used to love just going out with the camera, no lighting, and seeing what like we get, And now I bring lighting, but it just really kind of depends. And even when I do bring lighting, it's simple. Maybe it's like one light, just to have something there in case we need it. But I've been keeping it simple these days. But also I say that, but also I really like colored lights, like gels and things, which are not that simple. And so, yeah, again, it depends on the situation. I think whatever the situation calls is what we'll do.
Nice. Okay, let's go to the next one. Amanda, amiga hermosa. I just love Amanda. She is so talented behind the lens, makes you feel comfortable bringing out the best in you, then capturing it in a photo. I also love that she's into organic, non-toxic beauty, which is how we met. I would like to know if she could ask her future self. Oh, no, sorry. I would like to know what she would ask her future self in 5 years. And she says, un abrazo de Ivan Hernandez, Decide Balance, who is also founder of Decide Balance, who is also a previous guest on Word to Your Mama.
Oh, Yvonne, she's so sweet. I love her. We did meet in the kind of clean beauty industry. We met at an event in LA at a mutual friend's esthetician, like spa. And she's so awesome. I love her. What would I tell my future self in 5 years?
What would you ask your future self? Your future self from 5 years in the future.
Oh my gosh, what would I ask her? Okay. I'd ask her, how's it going to turn out, girl? How's it going to turn out? Gosh. I feel like I'd ask her that and she would say, it's all going to be all right, you know? It's all going to be all right, whatever the situation is. I don't know. I think that's probably what I would want to know. But also part of me is like, wouldn't ask anything, you know? And just, because I feel like it might change whatever's gonna happen, you know, to know what's gonna happen.
Alter the timeline or something like that, like mess it
up. Something like that. Yeah. Like some movie or something. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that I'd ask her anything right now, but I sure as hell would want to ask her, like, oh, how's it gonna go? How's it gonna turn out, you know?
Right. Well, I have a feeling in my bones, in my soul, that it's gonna turn out okay for you. I feel like you're on the right path. I mean, I don't know if you can go wrong, you know, entering the soft era.
Thank you. I think you might be right.
Right? Like whatever's going to happen is happening. You're in a new space. So, okay. Now let's get into the not so rapid fire questions, AKA the slow as hell questions. Okay. 3 words to describe yourself.
Sensitive. Creative. What's the third one? Open-hearted.
Nice. And thinking about the type of photography you do, especially, you know, portraitures, especially on the commercial side, and even in your personal work, you said you're sensitive, right? I feel like all photographers that do that type of work, you guys really have to hone in and like zero in on the person to try to get the best out of them, like to make it a safe space. So you're kind of like a counselor, kind of like a hype man, like a hype person, right? I feel like you're just like, okay, what's the best way to get, like you're always seeing people in such a vulnerable state, right? Because I hate taking pictures. Lately, I've been around a lot of photographers and have to take pictures, and I'm trying to find out how to be okay in my skin. But I've noticed that the best pictures are with photographers that are like, they're like psychoanalyzing me. they're like zeroing in and being like, well, let's do this. And then they can get something out of me. So do you feel that way? Like you're like low key a therapist.
I feel like a hype woman. I feel like when you said that, I was like, oh yeah, that resonates, because when I'm working, I get really excited when I see something in the camera, and I'm like, I think sometimes it surprises people because I can be a little reserved, a little quiet until you get to know me. But on set, girl, I love to hype people up. I love to hype them up. I love to let them know they look amazing, because they do, you know? And like you said, it can be so vulnerable to have someone have a camera in your face. You're like, who is this? Like, you know? And so, yeah, I think quickly I have to, again, we talked about it, right? Like, make people comfortable. And yeah, more than therapists, I would say, like, because usually I don't have a lot of time with people. So more than therapists, I would say I'm a hype woman. I'm like, okay,
you got to get them.
We're going to be best friends for the next, you know, however much time we got together, and we're going to make something beautiful. And we always do, you know?
Right. Okay. So what's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
I thought about this, and the best piece of advice that I ever received, I'm going to say a couple of things, if that's all right with you.
Yeah, for sure.
Is anything is possible. And once you believe that, anything is possible. I think for me personally, I had a lot of limitations on what I thought was possible for myself. And once I realized that anything that you want to do in this life, it can happen. So just a reminder to anyone listening in, and if that resonates with you and you need to hear it, like, girl, anything can happen for you. And second, a friend of mine said this to me kind of in passing, and it was, no te dejes. Like, don't let people like bully you or make you think you're not worth what you are, because you are, you know? Right. And again, like, as for me, I feel like that's more ingrained, it's coming more to the forefront in this new era, that, like, I think as women, we kind of touched about this too a little bit. Like, we're so ingrained, at least I know I have been, to like not rock the boat, make other people feel like, you know, no conflict, like everything's cool, when it's not. Like, I think as women, we learn little by little to kind of like shove shit down. And I feel like more and more now, I'm like, what I realized is, like, doing that is only a detriment to me. Like, being, you know, not saying how I feel, or, you know, not saying something when I know something is wrong. That shit eats me alive. It doesn't do anything to the other person, right? And so it's better to, like, just get that shit out, and no te dejes. Like, you know, say what you gotta say, speak your truth, like, keep it going. So those two little things have been on my mind, and what I would share with other folks.
That's sage advice. That's everyone should know that. And I'm sure there's a no te dejas in like every language and every slang in every neighborhood. There's, like, you know, you can reiterate that in whatever, you know, whatever capacity. But going back to, you know, the first one, I feel like it's all connected. The reclaiming of things, the opening and entering new eras, that anything is possible. I'm in a place where I've been doing this shit for such a long time solo. But because I keep evolving, because what I'm doing, it keeps evolving, and because I'm human and my brain is going to do what it's going to do, my brain is telling me, like, no, you can't, like, but I did all this shit. Like I don't know if it's like that for you. Like, it's like I'm entering new eras and new levels. And so it's scary, but I forget that I did this. And I don't know if that's something that is happening to you. It seems like it's happening to a lot of us right now, because we're entering new spaces again. But we've done this, and it's like we're trying to remind ourselves that we've done these hard things already, or these scary things, or these new things. And so the anything is possible, I feel, is like an ongoing practice, even for those of us who have done the anything is possible already. Does that make sense?
No, yes, it makes total sense. And it's, I was going to say it's such a coincidence, but I don't think there's such thing as coincidences.
Right.
Because I literally was just talking to my partner about this. Like, you know, I think as creatives, and I wonder if this also resonates with you, like, I have been able to do some really cool things in my career, but I do forget about them, and I'm like, what's next, instead of, like, you know, being able to reflect on those things. But I hadn't looked at it before, actually. What you just said is, I really like looking at it as like, oh, you've done hard things before. Like, I hadn't really looked at it through that lens, and I really like that because it just reiterates like how strong we are and how much
Right.
we have to overcome, and we do overcome, and
Right.
so I think that that's really important, and I love that you mentioned that.
Yeah, because the patriarchy is like ingrained in us, and it's tough to shake that out, right? And
Yes.
and white supremacy and all that stuff. And so like the decolonization of everything that we do and all the different aspects of our life, that's a practice too. And I feel like it's like this last remnants, like I don't know. It's very fascinating to me. It's also very fucking frustrating to me, because I'm like, yo,
Yeah.
I've done this. Like, what is the holdup? And it's just like, oh, it's safe. Like, you've done this shit. It's just a reminder. So anyways, let's go on to the next question. Song that you need, a song that you play when you need to get hyped. What's your one of your go-tos?
The song that like when it comes on, it immediately puts me in a good mood is Suavemente by Elvis Crespo. Like when I hear that song, I'm just like teleported back to like my childhood and like hearing it at a wedding and like everybody dancing. Like that song like really makes me happy. But honestly, like I love that song, and like any like I love reggaeton too. So like when I hear a reggaeton song, that like gets me going and makes me happy. And then if I can share one more, my ultimate kind of, I always heard it at weddings, so it also makes me happy, or like quinceañeras or baptisms or whatever. Is Luther Vandross "All My Love." Like when I hear that song, I'm just like, oh, it's like so good, It makes me happy, like it immediately puts me in a good mood. In fact, we were just at an event here in Denver last weekend celebrating like the 3rd anniversary of this wine pop-up that happens here. It's called Vino in the Trunk. And that song came on at the bar, and I was just like, oh, transported. It's so good. It makes me happy.
I love the power of art, and especially music, because it could take you exactly to those moments, and it could shift you. Like there was a thing like, what is someone posted somewhere, what's the music that can totally shift your mood? And I was like, I can be depressed as fuck, but if there's a dance hall reggaeton,
oh my god, dance hall
reggaeton, because they're in the same vein, they're part of the same family. Salsa, dance hall reggaeton, forget about it. I could be crying like dirty, and I would at least do a little shoulder, right? Like depressed as hell, under everything, but just a little shoulder. Like it's like I love it's so powerful. So anyways, your song, and if you want to toss me después, if you want to toss me like one of your current like heavy rotation reggaeton songs, right? Send it to me, because I'm gonna add it to the Word to Your Mama guest song hype, whatever. I mess it up every single time. The playlist, and I put it to the top when your episode drops. And I think you are the second, maybe the third person to put Suavemente. Elvis Crespo on there. So it's a good one. It's a common one for sure.
That song is like a gift from God, man. I swear that song is so good.
I wonder how much he. Well, I don't even know if he has what rights he has, but damn, whoever has the publishing rights to that, they're making bank, because that's everywhere, and it's so money. Intergenerational. Like, like the Supernatural Bear, he knows that song. People younger than him know that song. Like it's like the song. Okay, so the last question, Amanda, what will be your legacy?
What will be my legacy? I feel like I've been thinking about that more and more lately as I get older and enter this kind of new era. And I hope that my legacy is that I leave a body of work that can inspire young Latinas. Like coming up, I didn't know a single Latina photographer, like not one, until my high school teacher introduced me to a Latina photographer. And then it wasn't until, the internet, and I was able to see, oh my gosh, there's so many of us out there, but we're just not getting the representation or the opportunities that other folks are, And so I hope my legacy is one of inspiration to a younger generation, that they can do it, that anything is possible. I hope that's what they pick up from the work,
Right. No, you're there. It's already there. You've already built the legacy. Your shit is out there. I'm sure you've inspired so many people already. So, Amanda, let the people know what's next for you. Anything that we've mentioned of yours is going to be in the show notes, but let people know how they can find you, anything coming up, where to look out for, all that good stuff.
Sounds good. Well, folks can look at my website to see my work, amandalopezphoto.com, or I post more regularly and more recent stuff on my Instagram, Snapshot Lopes on Instagram. And, for folks that missed the Guadalupe exhibit, I'm bringing it back this year. I'm going to show it in my hometown of Sacramento in December.
What?
Yeah. And so for folks who missed it, they can, make a little trip to Sacramento and they can see it. It's going to be at Timeless Thrills, which is a really amazing creative space in Sacramento run by a husband and wife team. And I'm excited to bring the show to my hometown. And, I'm born and raised in Sacramento, and, my whole family is there. And so that's going to be a really exciting moment for me.
That's going to be hella special. That's going to be next level. You're going to be crying. It's going to be
Girl, I already know. I already know. I'm sensitive, so I already know. It's going to be an homage to my grandma. She's my original Guadalupe. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Well, December. Let me know what. Do you know the dates already?
You know what? I'm going to look it up. I'll send it to you in an email. It's going to be. I want to say it's like the Saturday before, like December 12th. It's like, because it's going to be on a Saturday. I don't know exactly the dates. I'll find it and I'll send it to you.
Yeah,
but probably the 7th, 8th or something. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I missed the LA one. Like, I hope I can make it to that because I have family that live in Sacramento I haven't seen forever. So I can make it like a double trip. And, I have family that live in Windsor. It's not that far from Sac. So, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And, super excited for you. Thank you for the representation, not only of yourself doing what you do, but, like I said, capturing our people, our communities and other communities like this. I think it's so super important. The love and respect is something that we need to continue. And I know for a fact that you have inspired so many people. You inspire me just to see myself in all the iterations. So it's a beautiful thing. So muchísimas gracias for your time, for what you do, and for being a word to your mama.
Thank you so much for having me. It was great chatting with you.
Awesome. There you have it, folks. Amanda Lopez. I think we made another lives, another timelines. It's so fascinating when you meet someone that you feel like it's like you've met before. It's especially when you're a similar frequency and going through similar things. It's like a reflection of yourself. And so that's why, without being physically in the space and seeing merely seconds of her show, I was like, I don't know, but this is what I'm feeling. This is what I feel is happening to her. And she was like, yeah, I can't believe you picked up on it. And it just shows the fact that, things are meant to be. I'm so excited to hopefully finally meet her in person. And how crazy small world is that she took, one of her first assignments, her professional assignments, was take picture of dilated peoples. Small world. Didn't even know. It's crazy. So yes, I hope you've been enjoying this new season, if you will, of amazing, fantastic, fantastical, fantabulous guests. We've had nothing but females that are bringing so much to the culture, to impact. Last week's episode, if you didn't listen to that, super important for any woman and any man who has a woman in their life, which they do because they all got mothers, to understand perimenopause and menopause. I mean, we bust myths. I learned so much from that conversation with Dr. Kat Brown, who is the medical director of Winona. So if you haven't listened to that, put that on your list, put it in rotation to either listen to it or watch it. And so, I'm pretty exhausted. I'm on the heels. I'm about to go to the first Coachella that I've been to since pre-pandemic. If you don't already know, I used to work at AEG Presents, AEG Live. Golden Voice was, one of the companies. So I also did artist relations for Coachella, Stagecoach, and some other the festivals, like one-off festivals. So, I used to go all the time. And the last one was, I think, 2019, and then the pandemic happened. I was supposed to go last year, but when I got back from NFT NYC last year, I got COVID for the first time ever in life. So then I wasn't able to go. And so this time I was like, oh, I have to go to New York again. I came back, I got sick, but I wasn't COVID, knock on the woods. And then, I was able to get over it. So our niece, Anna, is flying out tomorrow, and then I'm taking her to her first ever Coachella, and I think it's pretty empty. So I'm super excited about that. But so I've been ripping and running. So we had this opportunity, this great opportunity. I'm also part of the Women of Web3. We're the women that spoke at the United Nations last year, 78th annual Science Summit. And we had an opportunity to speak to Epic Queens group of young women in Mexico City that want to learn and be more involved in Web3 emerging tech. So a few of us were asked if you're available, if you speak Spanish, which I'm not fluent in Spanish. Every little, as time goes on and as I have more hours with my tutor and I speak more in different spaces, it's getting a little bit better and better. But to be at a level to do a presentation in Spanish, no. Last year was the first time I even was on a panel in Spanish. That was nerve-wracking for me. But I did it because the mission is bigger than us, right? Because I was like, well, this is for young women that are in the space. If they see someone that's trying no matter what, maybe that will inspire something. So it was last minute that I had to do the presentation. I was like, oh, I can't just go and talk. So I did a whole presentation, a Google Slides situation. I was super nervous and, who's to say? But also in my presentation, I said, as you can tell, Spanish is not my first or my second language, but that doesn't deter me from advocating for our community. So if I have this opportunity, I'm going to take it. I'm going to show the breadth of Latinidad. Like, I'm American born, but I'm still connected, and we're still part of each other's communities. So anyways, I'm so happy that I did it. I'm so happy that I didn't chicken out and be like, well, I can't do it, my schedule. No, I made it happen. And it was so rewarding to see. I mean, a lot of people had their camera off, but there were so many people, 2 pages of the Zoom. It was virtual, of course. And to see some of the women's faces when I was speaking, when Wildy, when Sandy, when Anana were speaking, and just, nodding their heads. And, I think we all try to approach it from telling our story, our origin story, why we got into this space, but also why it's important, why they need to be a part of it. And we need them. And it was just, I had to leave. I was there for an hour and a half, almost 2 hours, but I had to leave because, mama duties. I made dinner, but then I had to finish it off. So I left maybe right before it was the wrap up, and it was questions, the Q&A part. But Sandy was awesome enough to record it. And so she captured it, and they were also filling me in on WhatsApp on what was happening. But, some of the women that were there because of the NFT that was sold from our, appearance presentation at the UN that the wonderful Anana and a lot of other people worked on. And the sales from that, we had the option of, dividing up the money, keeping the money, or giving it back so that we can provide scholarships to young women in Mexico to be in STEM. And so we all did that. And this was the fruits of our labor, that there were women in there, young women in there that were recipients of this scholarship. So Sandy has a video that she took of one of them that was a scholarship recipient, saying how much she enjoyed and was inspired and felt blessed that she was in these spaces hearing our stories. It's just that's why it's worth it. That's why it's worth it. You know what I'm saying?
Like, we're trying to change the game here. And with Word to Your Mama, amplifying diverse voices, all of us collectively being in these spaces, amplifying diverse voices, trying to make it more diverse and inclusive. And, the new podcast is coming out this summer, Emerging Tech Journeys, where I'm amplifying diverse voices, emerging tech. I mean, it's all worth it. That's all. It's all worth it. Like, hearing Amanda's story, it's all worth it. She never gave up. Just hearing the stories that we've heard this entire year. It's just like, I don't know what I'm doing. No one's telling me. No one's showing me. I'm just going to keep on going and keep on moving. That's all we could do. But now we're trying to make it so that maybe there's no exact blueprint, but there's people that can help you along the way. They can support you, all that good stuff. Anyways, thank you for supporting this podcast. You know all the ways, all the free ways, especially as you can, leave a review, put the stars, do all that stuff. And, tell your folks, tell your peeps, tell your friends, buy something from the store. Was I wearing this last time? I feel like I'm wearing the same thing every time I do these intros and outros. Who's to say? But, you get the gist. That's in the stores. Still looking for quality V-necks. Once I get those, I'll definitely be up there. But yeah, muchísimas gracias. Let us know how you're feeling, what your thoughts are, and don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Let's get those numbers up. Let's, as I like to harass the supernatural bear by letting them know, I call it the YouTubes. I put the in front of it. Cringeworthy. He loves it. He hates it and he loves it. Shaking his head today when I was like, he's like, you said the YouTube? I was like, yeah, the YouTubes with the S. That's what I do. But anyways. All right. As always, we reap. Word to Your Mama is owned and produced by Ritzy P. Intro beat produced by Nico Beats. For partnership inquiries and contact info, check out wordtoyourmama.com. And as always, Word to Your Mama is brought to you by ritzyperiwinkle.com. And now, introducing
the Supernatural Bear Corner.
Supernatural Bear. Burp.